Talking about this messiness. We did it. We're live. It's me, Naomi. I'm here doing the Survivor Michigan Wolverine Wars episodes 5 and 6 recap. Joining me, we have truly the most exciting panel so far. Lee, hello. Welcome again back to the program. How are you?
Doing well. I'm here with a Survivor Michigan All-Stars, it looks like.
Correct. And speaking of All-Stars, we have Austin from season 3, a fellow podcaster.
Hello.
Joined me last minute. I'm so excited. Austin, how are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for the last minute invite. I'm really happy to be here. These are some of my favorite episodes that I got to be a producer on, so I'm really excited to break them down.
I've been enjoying all your commentary on Discord this whole season.
Thank you.
And it kept coming to mind, I'm going to have Austin on. And then it hit me today at like 9 a.m. I got to DM Austin right now and tell him to come on the podcast. We also have joining us Cooper, the host, the icon. Cooper, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you, as always, for having me on. Always a pleasure to talk about the season. It was a great one, so can't talk about it enough.
You? And finally, we have the most recently eliminated player. Truly a devastating loss for the, I would say, season 3 fans of Survivor Michigan. Aliza, welcome back. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to break down this past episode or two. Yeah.
Well, let's start off. We didn't talk about episode 5 last week. We waited, and we have so much to cover. So first of all, I want to dive in with Austin because, Austin, you are Katie's producer.
Yep.
So can you talk to me about the emotional, roller coaster you must have been on watching the Katie versus Camila debacle, I guess?
I mean, these past 2 episodes, I was like, okay, Katie's going home. Okay, Katie's going home. This sucks. I'm not going to be out of a job soon. But it was awesome to see just all the insanity that unfolded, especially with the Ben vote. Katie wasn't as, to my recollection, as involved with that. That was more like Jack, Megan, Camila. But it was still good to see. Okay, she's okay. But it was fun to see what her reactions to everything was going to be. And oh boy, after that blindside, you could cut the tension in that room with the dullest knife ever. It was that ridiculous. And then, man, I just remember being like, Katie, are you okay? And yeah, it was a hell of a week.
So, Aliza, the Camila vote, I think, was we all kind of saw it coming, but we knew it was for essentially kind of not your greater good. It was for the greater good of Jackson and Dale. Did you realize how big of a loss Camila would be down the line for you? Did that ever kind of rear its head to you and Matthew as this could be a very bad choice for us?
I think that I don't know if we necessarily realized, or specifically myself, I guess, realized how bad it would have been, or how bad it turned out for me. But I think that we did initially try fighting really hard for Camila because we knew that keeping her was really our best option. I remember we wanted to kind of keep a side with Jack and his crew to maybe flip to in the future. We wanted to keep our side with Dale and Jackson available to kind of, or the original Tokidoki, and kind of play both sides until we had to pick. And I think for that reason, we wanted to fight really hard to actually keep Camila. But then I think some more stuff started, the fact that Matt and Jack and I were talking came out. And so I think at that point we backed off and we're we can't stick our necks on the line for her. Now that this sketchy thing has come out about us. So I don't think we realized how bad it would be, but I think we did really want to keep her.
And that actually brings me to something I have in my notes, which is we see a lot in this episode. I don't think a lot of people online talked about it, which is that Ivy, Kat, and Shannon all kind of come to this consensus that, hey, they stuck together and basically strong-armed us off the tribe. I think they're all working together. Was that surprising, Aliza, to see that they all kind of came to that conclusion? Did you expect that from them, or I don't know. I'm curious what your reaction was to seeing all of them basically say it in episode 5.
Yeah, I have mixed reactions to that. I think part of the reason why like the tribes divided as we did, it was just kind of like a match of who was the most stubborn and like who was, like willing just to like go to the tribe of 3 versus the tribe of 4. And I think in the end, certain wills went out and certain people were just like, fine, let's go to bed. I'll take the tribe of 3. I think we were all kind of wary of those 3 boys though. So I think that sounds familiar. Were they including me in that? I'm not sure if that's what you were saying, if I was included.
Yeah, so I think, and Cooper, correct me if I'm wrong here, that basically the 3 girls were saying the 3 boys don't want to work with us, and Aliza is in good with them, which is why they're keeping her. If we all stay together as like a Tokidoki 7, we are the bottom 3, I think is what
okay. I see your point. Yeah, I don't know. I think Matthew and I were pretty close, and maybe they saw that, and then Dale and Jackson were pretty. I think all of the boys kind of had their own sort of connections. I do feel like I had a pretty good relationship though with Ivy and Shannon and Kat as well. So I don't know like in what light they saw me necessarily, but I'm sure kind of being on the tribe of 3 and 3 versus 4 and 2 was maybe like I see how it would send red flags. So it makes sense. I don't know if that answer made sense, but yeah.
Cooper, do you have anything else to go with that?
I would say, yeah. I mean, the 3 that ended up over there, Shannon, Kat, and Ivy, all were very much like the people that were more willing to just be like Lisa said, they were just less stubborn about it. Like the people who were more like, I don't know, I want to call them the more like dominant players who always want to just impress like their will on every single move in the game were the 4 people who were like, I'm not going to the tribe of 3. Like there's 0 chance you're ever going to get me to go over there. But in like sticking their necks out and basically refusing to do that, they did kind of group themselves as the more like power people within Tokidoki who like had some sort of like agency to get themselves over there. So yeah, I saw both sides of it for sure. Like I understood why they then saw kind of the group of guys, and then Aliza wanted to kind of stick over there with them. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lee, I'm dying to know what you've thought about these past 2 episodes. Lee notoriously hates men, hates these macho. is the number 1 Jackson and Dale hater. Lee, what have you think of these past 2 episodes?
Why do my favorites keep going home? The past 3 episodes, my favorites have been going home. It's literally who's left? Jack, Katie, and now Shannon.
Okay, Shannon's on the list now. I see. So what do you think, Lee, was the most sort of like surprising moment of these past 2 episodes for you? Was it just like Aliza going home? Was it that Katie even flipped to begin with? What were you thinking about this whole time? I'm so curious.
Definitely the biggest shock is Aliza going home.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all, and I really hope you don't feel bad, we all thought Aliza would make far because of what an amazing player she is. And also kind of surprising how self-aware the 3 Hokey Pokey members that flipped.
Nailed it. Ben would be so proud.
Yeah.
Yay. Like how aware like they were with like the grouping of the guys plus Aliza. And also how emotional Shannon is just by being on a tribe with Ivy and Kat.
This reminded me of like when I went to summer camp, and like you just had to like be in a group of girls you didn't want to be with. Like you're partnered up with somebody for something, you're like, I don't want to be in a sailboat with these bitches, and then you just have like you take photos with them anyways and have a nice time and tag each other on Facebook in 2 months, but like you're so upset about it in the moment. Aliza, would you have felt this way if you were if you had somehow ended up on the 3-person group with Kat and Ivy? Would this be your reaction?
I think Shannon likes Kat and Ivy more than she's letting on. Actually, no, I can't speak to Shannon, I guess. But they're not like Ivy, for example. She's a great girl. I really like her, and Kat is really funny. And I'm sure she's probably making a bit more dramatic for the camera. I don't think I would ever want to put myself in that situation to be on the 3-3 tribe. But like specifically with those 2, they maybe weren't my tightest alliances in the game, and so for that reason, I would have been a little iffy. But they're lovely people.
Aliza, if you could rank your alliances in the game, like who who was this? What was the sort of pecking order of like importance to you with this group of people? Just overall, the whole cast.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is like 2 years after, and I feel like I can't even go down the list. I feel like Shannon and Matthew were probably the people at the top of my list. I think they were definitely the people who I was closest with. And then I'll put all the El Norte people who I didn't know at the bottom, obviously. And then kind of between like, gosh, this is actually a hard question. I honestly have no idea how to answer it. Because I honestly wanted to have both options open with Tokidoki and with Jack. And so I talked with Jack through the game, but we had never like established trust. So I want to say he was like, I was tight with him, but also like, who knows? And same with like Ivy, like I felt pretty good about Ivy, but like we weren't like solid enough that like I really would have known where I stood with her. And Kat, I feel like would sway more. Like I never really thought Kat would like lie to my face or something. Like I just don't think that's the type of person she is. I don't think she would have lied to really anyone's face. I mean, we'll see. I guess what happens. I honestly don't know what happens after this. So I don't know. I just feel like everyone else is just jumbled in the middle, and it probably like depended on my mood of the day. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like Kat literally said to Adam, like, family members die. I feel like Kat cannot lie. She is like, just tell you exactly what's going on in her head.
Yeah.
And you'll never hear anything different. So, Aliza, back to like the beginning, and I just wanted, if anyone else wants to talk about something from the beginning, but like when you saw that the group you were playing with was Jack, Matthew, and Ben, were you kind of like, oh shoot, what a group to be with, or were you excited about like the prospects? I feel like when you come in, and I assume you knew that it wasn't like full all-stars, it was just a couple returners. You're always looking at like, how do I stack up against them? What was your reaction to seeing sort of the the three Jews and Jack? I feel like is what this should be called.
Yeah, is Matthew Jewish? I actually know he's Jewish. But he is. Okay,
I think so.
Is his last name Israel? Am I wrong here?
Yeah.
I think he's like half Jewish. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a fun way of phrasing it. So all the returnees kind of knew that I think when season 3 ended, we all kind of knew that we were all going to play season 4, and so a lot of us started talking over winter break between season 3 and season 4. And so I think I had never really known Jack before. And so he was someone who I started talking with kind of over winter break, and I had gotten good vibes from him. Matthew, I had filmed a ton of confessionals with season 3. And so I thought it'd be fun to play with him as well. It was kind of funny because he was obviously a producer and someone who had this like pour all of my thoughts out to, and I had to like remember that I couldn't like just like talk and say anything to him or whatever. And then Ben, I think Ben was the interesting one, probably because obviously we played on season 3 together, and I think both of us coming in wanted to have a good relationship with each other, and also like Ben and I are friendly, but we also wanted to like distance ourselves from each other because coming off the same season, people would have like theoretically automatically paired us had we not. And so I think we tried to like distance ourselves. But I think all of those three are probably like automatically like bigger people and personalities than myself. And so I thought that coming in against them, that maybe I was in a good spot, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And I think in terms of the Ben bomb, like, were you ever going to hold that against Ben? I feel like maybe I was like, oh, Aliza's so nice. She would never just like be like, remember that time Ben sent that crazy ass email? But I don't know. Was that something you ever like, if I need to use it as like a back pocket kind of, I don't know how to describe it. Like, was that ever a plan for you to be like, okay, let's tell everybody Ben's big secrets? I don't know.
Well, I want to say this is the part that I feel like, because I feel like I saw something about this as well. Like, I wasn't the only one who knew about the Ben bomb. Like, obviously Matthew and Jack produced season 3 and were very much in control of that knowledge as well. Like, I wasn't the only one who like had this card to play. Like, we all did. And that being said, I'm pretty sure Matthew told our tribe on the first day, and then I kind of jumped on it and was like, yeah, Ben and I don't work together. Ben and I don't get along. So I don't think I said the most kind things about Ben probably to my tribe. I think I definitely was trying to distance myself from him. But yeah, I feel like that came out in Tokidoki like day 1, day 2. Yeah.
Austin, anything that you want to talk about from the early days, especially like just watching, I feel like watching Aliza, who you just played with, who you had like a very close, alliance with, what was that like for you? Were you like, oh, did you want to like tell Aliza, like, here's all of my thoughts here, like, let's work.
Bro, I wish, but no, integrity of the game, important stuff. No, I was just really excited to watch you play, Aliza. Like, I know, and you like talked to me about, oh, I kind of want to play 4, I don't know. And I was so happy that you got to do it again. And like finding the idol day 2 was just insane. And like just the pickle juice and everything, and like watching you really like tough out these crazy challenges that we put you all through this time. It was really fun, and with a new group of people. And I think Tokidoki especially was challenging because of just a lot of the different personalities were so different than what you were used to with us on Sabu Sabu. So it was really fun to see you through like a new challenge in that.
Thanks.
So yeah, I mean, I was always, I was always rooting for you, and so it was fun. It was sad to see you go, early, but it was so fun to watch.
You got Katie to say it, then.
yeah. I mean, but I also my top 3 picks were you, Katie, and Camila. So I was not doing so hot going into this back half.
What a nightmare swap for you then.
I know. It was a crazy few weeks to be a producer and to be like, oh yeah, I'm rooting for everybody, but I'm like, I put like my stake on these 3 people, and oh great, this is going poorly. So it was a fun experience to be a producer, especially when your like friends are playing, and it's fun to see, okay, what crazy shit are we gonna put them through, and am I gonna feel bad about it?
Yeah, and there were the hard challenges.
I did feel, and like the kicking and screaming in the snow, like we got y'all really good.
You really did.
So I'm glad I didn't come up with those challenges, but I probably would have. So
yeah, I feel like, Cooper, first of all, how dare you? Like, these challenges are awful to watch sometimes. Like, I said it before, the hearing about the Nate nosebleed into the watermelon, like, ruined my whole day. So, like, how dare you? What's wrong with your challenge team?
Well, I had nothing to do with the challenges this season either. It was a lot of the new, like, season 3 people who had, like, hopped onto production, and they were all, like, in their own teams, and they, like, alternated doing challenges. It was a whole thing, but the challenges this season, they were like, they went hard. They went hard. Like kicking and screaming. They were like, oh no, steal the bacon. That's not good enough. We're actually going to get rid of that one and throw in this one where you just like are tearing people off the volleyball poles. And I was like, go for it.
And I mean, we actually had a lot of like Survivor classics when the pre-merge, like between that Piranha Feast and then the Tie 21 puzzle that didn't make the cut. So, yeah. And then go ahead, Aliza. Go for it. Oh, okay. And then the Maryland throwback with the last leg to stand on was really fun. And I remember you like picked up on that. He was like, oh yeah, so they did this in Survivor Maryland. And so that was also 7:30 in the morning, and it was bitter cold, and I was filming Cooper, and my hands were dying, even though I had hand warmers. And so we suffered as well, not as much as you guys suffered, but production also suffered too.
That challenge with like when we had to do one less leg each time, I think that one was like the hardest because it was so early and the snow was like so thick. Yeah. I don't know why, but like I remember I had to go to like work. And like right after the challenge ended, but I went home and I was like, I just need to lie on the floor for a second, and then I'll go. Like, I don't care if I'm late. Like, I just need to lie on the floor. It was so hard.
The things we do for the game.
That's like brain power and math and physical strength. Like, you could not ask me to do anything at 7 in the morning, let alone like do math and then also work out. Sounds like a fucking nightmare.
You guys all did better than I did. I would have done.
Right, and then you guys were getting snow kicked up your shirts. Like I think Katie was just getting like a full like stomach of snow. Oh my god, Lee, do you have a favorite challenge moment from this pre-merge in general?
I think this past episode, I think was one of my favorites, just because of how like Survivory it was. The trivia challenge since Toki lost.
Well, they lost on the puzzle, to be fair. Apparently, they're crushing a cup challenge, which was edited out, but I want to give them credit for being good at cups. You know, well, I think that shout out to Nate, the puzzler, man.
Oh, yeah.
He really called it. I was like, no way is Nate going to actually do this puzzle really well. Like, Katie's been there for a whole 10 minutes. She'll be fine. And then he crushed it. Aliza, was that like surprising to you to basically watch this whole like where they're trying to throw it, they're going to throw, and like it just got completely boned? I think
I was so, or not like mad, but I've never been really sad after a challenge. And I just remember like feeling that one in my gut for some reason. And I don't even know, like at the time, like I didn't suspect I'd be going home. So I don't know why I was like so bummed, but like I was bummed after that. And it was kind of funny to watch it back. Like I saw the scene where Jackson was like, if there's a puzzle, like make sure you guys are in the puzzle, or like the fact that it even got to the puzzle for El Norte, like they could have done a little better throwing that challenge, but yeah, Nate crushed it, so good for him. It would have been interesting to like think about what would have happened if that tribe actually had gone to tribal, and like how it would have panned out, but yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah, Cooper, do you have any thoughts on like what would have happened had El Norte, obviously Kat's least favorite color of all time, gone to tribal council?
My gut says they were just going to stick to the plan and split the votes on Jack and Megan. Shannon would have been like not super happy with that, but I don't know what else she really would have done. It would have just been like a really weird spot for her because she like didn't really want to work with Kat or Ivy like a ton, but like knew she kind of needed them and didn't want to like burn the whole Tokidoki bridge. So my gut says she would have just kind of stuck to the plan and just like taken one for the team and just like split the vote on Jack and Megan. So one of them probably goes there, but like it's kind of up in the air still, honestly. Like it's not set in stone at all.
Mm-hmm. And Elise, if that would happen, would you have been like on the sidelines trying to talk to like Jack and Shannon, like trying to sort of get things to maybe go away that you know, oh, vote out Megan. Who cares about Megan? Like, let's keep Jack in the game. Was that your MO when the other tribe would go to tribal?
Yeah, interesting question. It also probably depends on my mood because with Jack, like when he leaked our alliance, I was really mad at him. I was like really ready to flip. So like probably would have depended on like literally that day where I was with him. But also I don't know how like deeply I would have wanted to have interfered in the other tribe's tribal because I feel like coming in as a returnee, you already have a big threat in your back. And I feel like sticking your neck into another tribe's business and advocating for another returnee would have sent up like so many red flags. Like maybe I would have like, I mean, Shannon already remember really liked Jack. And so maybe I would have like encouraged it with her. But again, I doubt I would have stuck my neck out too far on another tribe's tribal council. I think I would have like tried to help, but kind of within limits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Make a solid alliance with the puzzler. I'm all in on Team Nate, by the way. I know that like Katie's still my winner pick, but I'm full Team Nate right now. Like he has escaped like truly the clutches of death so many times and barely any merit of his own. Like, you know, the puzzle was one thing, but like the Ben vote was just like no idea. So I'm fully onto Clueless Nate's train. Okay, Aliza, what I wanted to ask you also is about I have two questions or two separate things. One is about the Ben's boot, but more importantly, what did you think when Tom was like, hey, you guys are going to give me the idol clue. That's great. I'm going to invite my whole tribe to show up to this idol clue handover. Because we got it from Tom's perspective, but I'm dying to know what you guys were thinking.
Gosh, I can't remember if he told us in advance that they were all going to be there. I can't remember if like we all
like he did.
He did, maybe he did. Then it's hysterical because we all like literally all because I think Tokidoki had been out to a tribe dinner, and so all of us went to give him the idol, and then I guess he invited his entire tribe to read the idol clue. The whole thing was really funny. It was funny because I already had the idol at that point, so that was really funny. It was funny because he pulls it out and is like just about to like read it to the whole like to the whole group, which was hysterical. I mean, I think everybody kind of knew what each person's idol clue said, but the whole situation was just like funny, you know?
Austin, as a Survivor fan, what were you internally screaming when you heard about this?
First, I love Tom because I love Tom, and he is such a fucking delight.
We
to
love
watch.
Tom.
He is like me on 52 different levels. Like I know, like Jack said in like episode 1, he's like me, and I'm like, yeah, he's like a somewhere alternate universe, like parallel dimension, mixed up me, and I love it. And I know it's a weird description, but I was like just dying because okay, so he's gonna get the clue. Obviously, like 9 times out of 10, if you're being given him an immunity idol clue, it's because the tribe that's giving it to you thinks that you're like on the bottom or something, right? And so then he's like, okay, I'm gonna invite my entire tribe, and then he's like, okay, we're all gonna come, and they all get to North Campus or North Quad, and it's like everyone's there, and it's crazy. I mean, at least we got the funny elevator shot for the intro and everything. And then I was also dying because like the clues are literally so basic and so vague that it literally gives you the the least amount of information an idol clue could give you, which is this is generally in a very large area where it can be, right? And so I was just like, omnisciently, from a producer's perspective, it's completely pointless. But it was just so funny, and I love that just very we know that we know Aliza already has an idol. Well,
yeah,
y'all didn't because the editors did that little sneaky thing. But we knew, producers, we knew Dale had the idol. We knew you had the idol. And so it's just well, this is just hilarious, and they're all wasting their time and they don't know it yet. So I just was totally dying. It's one of many just funny moments this season.
Lee, if you were on one of the tribes when this happened, what would your reaction have been? I don't think we talked about it enough, and I haven't talked about it with you. What would your reaction have been? Had someone on your tribe been like, "Hey guys, idol clue party at North Campus, join me"?
I would have been like, "Yay, free clue!"
Yeah.
And I'm so blown away by how everybody manages. I feel like there was this similar energy around everybody, right? They're all just sitting there being like, "I can't believe this is happening. Let's just let him have the clue." And then there's a moment where he's going to read it, and don't they stop him from reading it out loud?
Jack body blocks him.
I mean, he's going to tell them anyway.
Yeah.
I know, but don't read it in front of the other tribe. Cooper, what was your reaction to this? Because you probably weren't there. What when this all went down? I love this. This is my favorite moment in Survivor Michigan history so far. It's insane. It's insane on all levels.
I mean, like Austin said, it gives us that great shot where Matthews has the camera, and it's in the intro where everybody's just in the elevator, and you can basically see all 16 people in the cast almost. You can pick them out in this teeny tiny elevator. That's the funniest part to me, but yeah. But in general, from a production standpoint, like Austin was saying, it was just funny to just know that none of it really mattered, but somehow. The only times you ever see the cast all together is at a challenge. Even tribals, it's just one of the tribes. So just to have them be all in the same room, outside of when it is normal Survivor time almost, just was just a weird video to watch. You're this really shouldn't have happened in any way, but it somehow did.
It's a logistical miracle considering just all this scheduling crazy. 3, 4, so
yeah.
That was just also I'm huh? So this is the one time y'all can make everything? Okay.
Yeah, that just made me sketched out for every time we sent out a when to meet, and you all click 2 times that you can meet for the whole week, and all of a sudden an idol clue popped up, and all 15 of you that were still in the game managed to be there at the same time.
We get it, sketchy. We understand.
Sketchy.
Oh my god. Also, Dustin just says, "Aliza is a rock star. Thank you for playing 2 amazing games and actually playing and not letting it slip by." And I think this kind of brings up a great question, Aliza, which is what did you want to do differently having come from season 3 to season 4? What was the goal? Because I do think Dustin's right. Like you were always playing, even if you were very low key, which I think, sometimes in College Survivor happens. People take a very, very sort of lackadaisical approach, and I think it's much appreciated when people try. What was that like for you coming from season 3 to 4 and what you wanted to change?
Yeah, so when I was asked to play season 4 literally a week after I was voted out of season 3. And so it was kind of like I was still like not over what had happened in season 3. Like I was still working through things. So it was definitely a quick turnaround. And for that reason, I was like initially like, should I do this? Should I put myself through this again? But I'm really glad that I did. And I think coming into season 4, coming in especially as a returnee, I knew that I already had this like big like target on my back. But especially I think knowing how I played in season 3, and I love every second of season 3 and every aspect of it was so fun. But I definitely came out of the gate really fast, doing like pulling rocks and playing idols and like all in the pre-merge. And so coming into season 4, I was like, okay, Aliza, take a chill pill, like just relax, like make relationships, but like don't do anything too crazy. And so I think that was my intent going into season 4, was to just like play low key until merge and, like still form trust and, have a plan to set myself up for success, but to not do anything crazy. Yeah.
So I think that kind of brings up the where we're at right now, right before you get voted out, which is like everything is kind of going to plan except for that they didn't lose the challenge. And you guys are going to vote somebody else out. And of course it's going to be Katie. Why wouldn't it be Katie? Was there ever that voice in the back of your head that said, vote out Dale or Jackson? Like, what did that like devil on your shoulder ever pop up and say like, let's do it. Fuck them. Let's vote them out.
No, I honestly can't even say that I thought that, because I really thought that if I voted out Dale or Jackson, that the other people on Tokidoki would immediately vote me out. Like I thought that would destroy trust with the rest of Tokidoki. So I never considered making that move. And also I really saw Dale and Jackson as like meat shields as in some way, like I think like I was kind of unaware and I was like knew that I was probably considered a threat, but didn't really know what people thought about me. And I wanted to kind of keep these like 2 big older boys who were like considered strategic and whatnot. I thought that was like a good way of masking my own position in the game. So for those reasons, I really didn't. I hate when people use the excuse of like life got in the way, but my sister was in the hospital the day before tribal council. Mm-hmm. I remember I had like a big paper due, so I just don't think like I was thinking through all of my options, maybe like I could have, but even I think if I did, I don't think I would have voted out Dale or Jackson.
Yeah, I remember you had mentioned in the awesome pre-merge podcast that you guys did on the Actual Survive Michigan channel that like it just was everybody else was talking to Katie and it was because of this idol paranoia, and you were like, yeah, F it, why am I going to talk to Katie? I'm the idol.
Yeah.
My plan.
Yeah, I wanted to be purposely nice. Or sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Of course, I wanted to be nice to Katie, but it was also like a big, busy week. And like I knew she didn't have the idol. And I think a lot of people were worried about her because she could have had the idol. And so I think that initially like made people more willing to hear her out and listen to her or whatnot than maybe I was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, Cooper and Austin, maybe you guys have an opinion on this. What do you think? Like, do you think there was a way out of this that didn't involve Aliza playing her idol? Or was it kind of like the more Jackson and Dale just kind of got this big move-itis, the more it was like doomed to happen?
I would say Katie's first option actually was to go with Matthew and Aliza. I think if Matthew and Aliza had just committed and been more just like, yes, we're going to vote with you. Like we're voting Jackson, even if they didn't really mean it, which like Aliza just said it, like she would have just felt bad doing that. But like that really was, if you wanted to, like the way out for Katie to like for sure not vote with you. But I've heard Jackson and Dale also say that they potentially would have just voted for Aliza anyway, knowing that Aliza and Matthew were just voting Katie. And in the weird scenario where that happens, their 2 votes actually just take her out on the revote anyway. So technically they didn't really need Katie to do it. But yeah, I think the plan really could have like been much harder to execute if Aliza and Matthew just went to Katie and were very much just like, we're voting with you. Like, do you want Jackson? Do you want Dale? Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah. And Austin, you were there with Katie the whole time.
Yep.
What was going on in Katie's head?
I mean, I think the biggest thing was, just you guys did not get to her and commit to her fast enough, because as soon as she had already talked to Dale and Jackson, and she's like, okay, Matthew's like, okay, I'm gonna get back to Aliza and we'll like figure it out. Like that's, that's sending that, okay, we need to talk about it. We're not 100% sure, which like I get. And I mean, I've been there, but like you're trying to convince Katie, who's very clearly in the middle of this weird power dynamic you have, and you just had to get to her first and keep her, which you just didn't. So
yeah. I think the other thing that was kind of happening was, like Aliza was saying, she didn't want to make the move because she was like, the Toki Dokis aren't going to come back with me. And then what? It's like me, Matthew, and like maybe Katie on the island if she just like sticks with our little group. And so I think both sides, if you want to call them that, were also kind of in that weird pickle of it doesn't fully make sense to do this because we could be in a very bad spot. Whereas if we just stick strong, we have all these shields, we're still together. But obviously you see then Dale and Jackson are also worried about, well, if us four do stick together for a second vote, there's 6 people on the other tribe that have now just had time to kind of mingle. And if they want to, they can just stick together. So there's not really a perfect scenario for anybody, but like everybody was just kind of weighing their options. But yeah, I don't know, Liz, if you had any more.
Yeah, I was just piggyback off of what you said. Like, I didn't think that they were going to make a move against Matthew and I that week because for the same reasons that I wasn't going to do it against them. But on top of that, I was thinking about when you said it, and now I've just completely lost my train of thought.
Oh, it happens to me all the time.
Oh no. What were you saying again? What was making me think this?
I was saying that Dale and Jackson technically didn't need Katie's vote, but I don't know if that was what you were gonna go off of, or if you guys had stuck together again, the 6 on the other side, there was kind of the worry that like they could have just all stuck together. I don't know.
My other point was, sorry, I just remembered. Thank you. We were filling in for me. I had no idea that they perceived me the way that they did. Like, I didn't necessarily think that they thought of me as a bigger threat than Matthew. I didn't know that they thought that I had really good social times in the game. I didn't feel that way myself, and so I didn't realize that other people were perceiving me that way. So that was kind of another reason why I didn't expect to move that week. Yeah.
And this brings me to like what I've been thinking about this whole sort of past several days after this has happened is like, what the fuck is going to happen when the merge hits? I mean, we're going to find that out, but like and Lee, I'm wondering what you're thinking, because as a viewer, I'm so perplexed about like, where are these guys going to go where they're basically going to lose Matthew's trust. They're going to lose Shannon's trust, I think, to an extent too. They're not going to have Jack on board, I think. And that means what Megan's not coming with them. So then it's like Kat, Ivy, and Nate and Katie. Like, I'm so perplexed about like what the alliances are going into the merge. I mean, I'm very excited to see it all play out, because what the fuck is going to happen? Lee, what do you think is going to happen now that the merge is like literally almost upon us?
No idea. Like, it could be. I know what I want to happen, but usually when what I want to happen, it's always the opposite of what happens.
What do you want to happen? So then we can
think it's obvious.
What the app.
I want Jackson or Dale just gone.
You hate White Castle that much?
There's no White Castle over here, so I don't know what that is.
I figured. Yeah.
Unless it's a literal White Castle.
There's no White Castle in Ireland. You've heard it here first, folks. I mean, that's the other thing is that, like, Aliza, you got stuck in these terrible, terrible situations where, like, you just had to put on the face of, like, I'm definitely enjoying this. It's like Burgergate from last year. Yeah. You have the White Castle and you have the YouTube video. Like, I don't know how you endured these moments of just, like, pretending to care for so long. Why on earth was Dale hyping up White Castle this much? It was like an insane thing. And it's not even a bonding experience if you're at a fast food table that can only fit like 6 people at maximum. I don't get it. Aliza, how was this moment?
Honestly, I mean, the burger, and I don't want to offend Dale and Ivy with this, but I thought the burger was disgusting. The situation, though, was fun. Like, I think we all went home and trashed the burgers, but I think, like, hanging out with a group of fun people is always fun. So, that wasn't necessarily the issue. It was funny, though, because mentioning the chairs, like, I remember, like, we literally couldn't, like, I feel like the chairs there are, like, glued to the tables or something, and so we literally couldn't, like, combine ourselves. It was a whole ordeal. I mean, honestly, I think it's all pretty funny. I feel like we had fun. I think the burgers were gross, but we all had fun. Yeah.
Awesome. And Cooper, did you go to White Castle after this? Did you have to test it for yourself? Did Dale get you?
We made it
not. I don't even think that production really knew this was happening. Like all these tribes, like they have their group me's like with production people, but a lot of times
one without us.
Yeah, a lot of times they just make them without us.
To be honest.
Yeah. Which is fine, but I think they'd like been talking about it in that, so I don't even think I knew this was happening. I forgot this had happened until we started watching back the footage and trying to put together this episode, and we were just like, what can we just like kind of throw into one of these episodes that would just be kind of like a funny little 5-minute thing for the audience? And we're like, oh, this is perfect, like this is hilarious. So I'd forgotten this even happened, honestly.
Oh God. I'll tell you, Lee, Ireland is not missing anything with White Castle. Like, there's no, like, it's not good. It's, like, it's such a dinky fast food burger. And so they're talking about it, and I'm like, maybe it's, like, the best White Castle in America, right? Maybe it's so good. Oh, God, it was so brutal to watch. And Dale, here's my theory. I think that Dale and Jackson are, like, a little bit smarter Reynolds and Eddie from Caraboan. They're the bros. They're in this alliance together. They're sort of like creating all this chaos around them, and we'll see if it ever works out for them. But that's my interpretation. I don't know if anybody else wants to counter that, but that's how I see them.
Who's the Malcolm in this situation?
Who's the Malcolm? Is it?
Aliza was.
Aliza's the Malcolm. Okay.
She's the one who was smart enough.
You don't want to give it to like Matthew?
Yeah.
I don't want to give Matthew that credit.
We'll have to see if Matthew gets dragged down by like their behavior, which he very well might. But like, if he gets bogged down with their BS, then I think it's definitely Matthew. But exciting, Matthew made the merge, guys.
Allegedly, we still don't know for a fact.
Okay, they had a pre-merge podcast. You're gonna think that they have more? Okay, Lee. Keep your tears.
Edge of extinction.
People are holding out hope.
Yes, very enduring EOE.
They just have to be outside in the cold the whole time.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh boy.
Michigan winter. Let me tell you.
Tom's there writing in the snow all of his theories.
Tom would have done it. Let me tell you. If we said, Tom, you can get back at like the merge if you like stand outside for like 40 days or whatever he had been like voted out at this point, he would have done it. I'm telling you for a fact he would have.
Oh God, I love Tom. And so, Aliza, what I noticed online was that a lot of the comments were basically saying that it's going to be the returning players that are left, which obviously Jack and Matthew versus Jackson and Dale going into the merge. I know you don't know a ton about it, and like without touching on anything spoiler, like, do you leaving the game at that point, did you think that's what was going to happen, that it was going to be like the experienced players versus these two big guys sort of like rounding up as many sort of people as they could to go against each other?
I think when I was voted out, and I'll preface with like Jackson and Dale are lovely people, but I was very angry with them at the time when I was voted out for obvious reasons. And so I was really hoping that like, Matthew and Jack and like Shannon and the other Tokidoki people would pull something together and, like vote him out. You'll see what happens, I guess. Like, obviously I'm not going to say anything, but I think I was hoping that like they would be the next ones to go, that the move would backfire, that like it was such a bad move to vote me out that, like no one would trust them after this. I think that was my hope when I was voted out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens.
It was both a good and bad move for them. Good in the fact like you're somebody that will not be voted out. Like it took an idol to get rid of you your last time.
Mm-hmm.
And with this cast and seeing the reaction of like Shannon, Kat, everyone was going to work with you. Like you could have easily made Final Four. So it's a good move on that. But it's a bad move in that who do they have now? Each other and Katie and then maybe Nate, which is not much. Katie's great, but still not much.
Yeah. I think again, like I was like very unaware of how I was perceived in the game and how people like perceived my relationships and kind of how I felt about like my own relationships because I felt good with a lot of people, but like with Savu, like our alliance was like forged in fire, you know. I was like, I trust these people to the end, and I didn't necessarily feel that way on Tokidoki. And so I think for me that reason, like I didn't perceive myself in the way that they perceived me. So I was just like totally shocked. Like I just thought it was like a straight up bad move, and we'll see what happens. But I respect them for playing big. I do respect them for playing big because making a big vote out's a hard thing to do. So it's good for them.
And actually, honestly, just bouncing back to like shocks for like all the way back to season 3 for a second. Were you surprised at final tribal council of season 3? We didn't get to talk about the end of season 3 a lot, but like when Dylan is revealed as the winner, what was your reaction? I'm dying to know.
I mean, I was Team Devin, obviously, but I think they both played really great games. I think they both honestly played kind of similar games. And watching back season 3 and seeing, like, obviously I only saw Devin's perspective and I never really saw much of Dylan's perspective. And so watching back season 3.
Neither did the audience.
I saw more than I did, maybe in the season. I think he played a great game. So I'm happy for Dylan. I think he was the comedic relief all season. I think he's a good winner. He's like a winner that I think everyone can like be happy with from like of players, you know, like no one's like really mad that Dylan's a winner, I think on behalf of players. So I think, yeah, I mean, obviously I was Team Devin, but I think Dylan's a great winner.
Yeah, he's very like Fabio-esque, and I kind of appreciated that a lot more, like seeing the footage and putting everything in the context afterwards versus like being bummed that like Devin, who I saw his game and like I didn't see Dylan's, like my perception of him was that he was not playing the entire time, and then you find out, oh hey, they had this whole secret thing, which was like cool, but also like could have brought us in on it, right? And so like it was like a lot of interesting emotions, but it was really interesting to see like when you put all of us in that season and like when Dylan wins, it's like, would that happen in like just a complete reset, right? So it's like anybody can win a season of Survivor, I think. So it's really fun to see, especially with like college Survivor. You get a lot of diverse kinds of gameplay and kinds of winners, and plus you got no votes against them, which is nuts. Like
second Michigan winner to do it.
Exactly. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Tarowski had 1,000 votes against him.
Tied with me for the record. As far as I know.
Hold on.
Lee's got it all down in the journal.
Yeah. You got your pen and paper. All right.
Wow.
I mean, when Dylan won, I was laughing my ass off. But I loved both Dylan and Devin's games. I just had to say, they were really such a fun duo. And Cooper, I feel like either outcome you would have been pleased with that medal too.
Yeah, no, 100%. Production was very split. Like production sometimes just as a poll, like who would you vote for to win? Who do you want to win?
Yeah.
And honestly, it was pretty split between Devin and Dylan. They both played very similar games that are both very likable people. So it was like, it really was just a toss up, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, you both have 18.
Yep. Which tied with the icon he is, Christian Hubicki, for that as well. So that was crazy because like Dave versus Live was airing during our season we were playing. And so it was a very kind of kindred spirits moment for me.
And I think that brings up something else that we haven't really touched upon, which is we're finally entering the era of Matthew being Matthew on season 1. And Aliza, I don't know if you like at the time were watching it back, or you're just kind of like trusting what Matt says about how it's going for him. What was that like for you? Did you watch Matthew in all his glory in season 1?
Yes, I was watching season 1 as it was coming out as we were playing. Before the season began, I was like, you gotta tell me everything you did because you know everything that I did, so you gotta spill all your guts. And so I think I knew kind of different elements of his game. I think he probably was like the whole, like, I think like he was like Matthew and all of his Matthewness throughout the whole season. Maybe like all the bits and pieces of like weren't edited into the actual like what you see. But I feel like he was probably playing that way the whole time. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And finally get to see Merge Matthew.
I know. Matthew 2.0, he's back. He's going to write a whole book about it now. He made the merge. I loved when in the episode he's like, I made the swap twice. You're like, oh, good for you, Matthew. Take it all you can.
And now Aliza joins him and also fellow season 3 player Ben in the 11th place club.
Yes. It must be a returning thing. That must be it.
Yeah.
Jack's the only one excluded. He's not the Jew. He's not in 11th place.
Yeah, Jack is like fully. He does not fall into any of the Venn diagrams.
There's no season 2 representation in this podcast right now. It's just.
That's all right. So, Aliza, is there anything we didn't see that you thought you maybe wish had made it? I know we know all about, Camila just really turning on the charm with Cooper. But is there anything else we didn't get to see with your journey on Survivor Michigan this season?
I think I mentioned in the pre-merge podcast, so I don't know, like I mentioned that I thought I gave all of Chunky Doki and Eric Reichenbach mono at one point.
Oh yeah, another moment where I had to pause that podcast and just be like, oh my god.
Oh gosh, so bad. We were all like, we were picking out like watermelon from like our noses, our ears, our eyes, like for days after that. I remember like, yeah, that was bad. So that was kind of an interesting moment of kind of grappling with the fact that I maybe just gave everybody a illness that would ruin their semesters. But thankfully I didn't have it, so we're all good.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if Austin's pickle comment made it to like once we started live, or if that was
I don't think so.
It was before. Yeah, if you want to talk about the pickle juice.
Yeah, the pickle debacle is kind of funny from the first challenge of when we had to chug the pickle juice. It made me very sick afterwards, but there was like a piping issue in my house, and so my landlord had taped down our toilets and like turned off our water, and so I couldn't like use the bathroom, and I was like feeling very, very ill. And I remember I had to like run to an apartment across the street to not be ill, or to be ill other than in a place in my apartment. But no, lots of good memories from this season. Lots of fun times. The food challenges just weren't my favorite.
Right. And how about being a Survivor fan and getting to meet like Eric Reichenbach? Was that like exciting for you?
Oh my gosh, yes, that was so cool. Like I've seen all of his seasons. I think he's so awesome. It was even like interesting to like see his confessionals, like because obviously we didn't see that one and actually happen, but seeing how like good of a storyteller he even was of like the like little bits that he was in, like he was really cool. He was like quiet and like mellow in person. It was interesting to think about what he would have been like on the actual beach as like from the perspective of someone who was a player with him. But he was really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. And Cooper, anything else you can think of that we need to talk about? I mean, there's been so much these episodes, but I feel like you guys had a great pre-merge podcast, especially talking a lot about the sort of strategic stuff that went on. And I also feel like I'm literally I watched these 2 episodes back and I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. I'm not like Nostradamus. I don't know. Cooper, what else do we need to talk about?
That's a good question. I honestly am curious what you and Lee think is going to happen. Like I want a prediction for like what group do you think comes together at the merge, and then who eventually you guys see winning. I know you guys both have winner picks from the beginning, but if you could change one, you can't pick your OG winner pick. Right. If you were to pick a new one starting now, who would that be as well?
I think for me, it would be Megan or Jackson. I'm just not sure. I think this merge will like define that for me, but I think if anybody's in like a perfect spot, it very well could be Megan.
I'm trying to think. My original, I'm pretty sure, is Katie. So if I can't pick her, definitely not Jackson or Dale. And that's not just with bias reasons. Definitely
But it
not
mostly
me.
is.
I don't see Jack or Matthew winning. I'm going to say Kat.
Oh my God, Lee.
Okay, in serious, I think. Okay, in all serious, I think I'm going to jump on the Anders bandwagon and go with Shannon.
Mm-hmm. And I love Shannon. I think Shannon is like Shannon and Matt are who I'm rooting for the most, just like because I want to see them succeed the most. But I think that Megan has, by accidentally throwing Camila under the bus, has cemented herself in a great spot. She like really just like blew up Camila's game, and then it was like, oh, but Jackson's here. Hey, how's it going? Like, absolutely insanely fucked up, but so funny to watch. Like, heartbreaking. Just like,
and she kind of blew up Aliza's game a bit as well by revealing the returnee talk. Megan secretly taking out players one by one.
I know.
She takes a special skill to take out players without needing to.
I'm definitely curious if it never leaked that. Like if Jack never mentioned that we were talking, I wonder if we would still be voted out. I mean, I think I dug my own grave in other ways, but I wonder how the factor that was. I would definitely love to know.
Yeah.
I think he would have been fine, but that's just me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think also like Jack is kind of seen as schemy, not like necessarily in a bad way, but in the same way that Matthew is seen as like their minds are always going, right? Like, and then to know that the two returning players from your tribe are working with the guy on the opposite tribe whose mind is always going, who you don't have connections to, I think is like so dangerous that they have to sort of not like they just have to sort of take it out any way they can. And I feel like the idol also, because something, Aliza, I love that you mentioned was like this conversation you had with Dale where you both were just like, you have the idol, tell me you have the idol. And I'm sure that Dale subconsciously kind of thought to himself like, I bet Aliza does have the idol, you have to get rid of it.
Did he? I have no idea.
I don't think so.
You don't think Dale has any
I think nobody, especially at that point, thought that somebody on Tokidoki had the El Norte idol. I mean, I guess we'll see where that goes. There's only now 4 El Norte left. So at some point, people may start to be like, maybe a Tokidoki does have that or did have that or something. But I think at that time, especially, nobody was even remotely considering that somehow somebody had found an idol from the other, like that was meant for somebody on the other tribe.
I think most of Tokidoki thought Jack had it. I think. Yeah.
Oh, Jack.
Speaking of Jack and idols, how does Dale know that Jack found 2 idols this season? And please don't tell me Jack told people.
I think Jack told people. I think Matthew probably told people too.
Yeah, it was another one of those things that people just knew. I think, I forget if Aliza, you knew or Ben knew going into the season, but Matthew 100% knew. He was on production. So
if Matthew told people that, I can understand.
I think Jack told his tribe and Matthew told our tribe.
Yeah, I think it was. I bet you also Megan could have probably let that slip too, like Megan or Camila for sure.
Yeah, I think he was in the same position that Ben was, really, where he kind of had this information that he didn't really want a lot of people knowing, but like knew it was probably going to get out. So he was more in the situation of, do I tell people and just like come clean about this, even though it's not really a bad thing. It was just something that was more impressive and puts a target on your back. But he was like, he was stuck in the situation of, do I try to control the narrative about this, or do I let other people spread this without even me knowing who knows, and they get to control the narrative of how people are talking about this?
Okay, I was here thinking that Jack just told people for some reason. I'm like, why would you tell people you found 2 idols your season?
I think he did, but I think he knew that Matthew was telling people or was going to tell people or had the option to tell people, something along those lines.
Okay.
So, Lee, we're the only 2 unspoiled maybe people on this. I think especially for the next vote. Aliza, when you were leaving at the time, who did you want to see go home most? Was it like Dale or Jackson, either one get them the F out?
Yeah, I was like, I wanted Dale and Jackson out of the game, and I wanted to like secretly drop my idol on the door of like Shannon's house. He's like, not
Really funny.
It's like, good luck.
Yeah.
You can't get me with a penalty vote, Cooper. What are you gonna do now? Like,
So funny that production put an idol on Shannon's doorstep. So weird.
Shannon secretly had it this whole time.
yeah.
We just production made us think it was Aliza.
And so Lee, who do you think is going home next?
Okay. Get your biased thoughts out and think logically now. It really okay. I can see it being Jack because everybody is targeting him. I see it being I actually don't see Jackson or Dale going next week. I see it being Jack, Kat, because everybody wants to get rid of Kat for some reason, or Katie. I see Jackson and Dale throwing Katie under bus, being like, "Hey, will they go to like Jack or people aligned with Jack and be like, I know we're targeting each other. Katie doesn't trust us or trust you. Will we just get rid of her?" That sort of situation.
Mm-hmm. I'm even though I'm on the Nate train, I feel like Nate could definitely go this week. That's my thought. It's like this could be a Nate boot for sure. I'm worried for him, but I'm emotionally I'm rooting for him very, very hard. That's my take on the matter. We're gonna see Cooper what tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yep.
There we go. New episode tomorrow night, everybody. 8:00 p.m. Am I?
Mm-hmm.
I act like I don't know, but I think I mostly know. But I gotta double check. Austin, I hope we'll have you back at some point. But thank you for being here. Any final thoughts?
Send the word, I will come.
Any final thoughts on like this pre-merge so far before we wrap up?
I gotta say, like, even factoring in like real Survivor seasons, I think this is one of my favorite pre-merges in any Survivor season. And it's like I'm biased because I was there, but I was laughing my ass off every week. Like from the challenges to Dale smashing his face into a watermelon to like everything to the blind sides to just the insanity. Like before the Aliza tribal, I'm like going into my confessional with Katie, and she's on the phone with Dale, and it's like all this shit's going down, and I have been like so behind on what's going on with Katie. So like, okay, spill, what's going on? And she's like, we're gonna blindside Aliza. And it was like insane, right? So it's just like all of these moving parts together, and everything that you guys get to see and everything we get to see as production made it so much fun to watch. So it's really fun, and the post-merge is super fun too. So I'm really excited for y'all to see it.
Amazing.
I'm looking for more interesting votes. I like spread votes. Like these blind sides are great, but come on, let's have like a 3-2-2-1 vote.
They've been on tribes of like 5 and 6. I don't know what you want.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of effect of having a smaller cast too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love it. I have no issues with the swap. I understood. You explained it, Cooper. If somebody is a fan and watched all of us talking but hasn't watched the pre-merge podcast, I don't know what you're doing here. Go
I get called out in it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a question for Aliza. Actually, on that note, so y'all clocked exactly how the swap was going to work, and I was so shocked. Like, did anybody actually think like the 3 warriors were gonna switch? Or because I was like, that's what I thought y'all were gonna think when I was coming up with it. And then
well, that also the thing about what this particular swap fashion was that we were supposed to do it in person, weren't we? And then
for filming.
And so I think when we like got the message like, oh, send 3 warriors, and it was the perfect time for a swap, it was the perfect numbers for a swap. And so I think at that point, I mean, we all just like knew the swap was coming at that point. And then you threw in this thing with the warriors, and we're like, okay, obviously this is how they're gonna do the swap. I mean, I think it probably would have been interesting to see how it would have been in person if you were like, you have 15 minutes to decide who swaps. Like it would have been
that would have been cool.
Crazy, but yeah, that was actually because the reason I couldn't do the challenge is because I thought that I had mono, and I thought that it set us up in a physical challenge that like because we don't do physical things anymore. Yeah, that was why I couldn't come.
Yeah, I definitely was hoping you might think like, oh, it's like a hero challenge or something. Yeah, like the whole warriors to represent your tribe is kind of a big thing with like very shoehorned theming. So
I think we just knew like based on the numbers that were left, that it was time for a swap. Like I think even before like you sent the message. Like we were like, we're going to swap today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good question, Austin. I'm glad you asked it. And
Yeah.
Cooper and Aliza, also, thank you so much for being here. Love getting to talk to you every week, Cooper, every other week. And then Aliza, it's a pleasure to talk to you again after last year, I should say. It's been a while, right? It's like, what, a half a year? I don't know. I'm not good with math. But it was really fun to catch up with you again. I hope you're doing well and that you definitely don't have mono, I assume. But, good to stay quarantined for a year anyways. Thank you guys so much. And Lee, thank you for being here. I appreciate everybody. Make sure to tune in to Survivor Michigan every Wednesday at 8 p.m. You guys are on all the social media. I love it. Cooper, where are the TikTok dances? I've asked for them. I don't understand why you're ignoring me, and I will not stand for this.
I'm sure if you texted individual people within Survivor Michigan, you could get some like TikTok dances potentially of me out there, but on the Survivor Michigan channel, no, there will be none.
I want just like post.
People would pay good money for that, Coop.
I want post-season a video of just like TikTok dances of Cooper being like,
you don't want that.
Yeah, if someone can get a Cooper fan cam going or anything like that, I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I have a life. Guys, thank you so much for being here. And as always, check out Live Reality Games. You know what I mean. And first of all, Austin, you've been so nice about it, but season 3 is Emily Paddock and season 1 Sarah Gallagher going to be on Survivor New York coming soon. We have a premiere date that I cannot reveal yet, but it's coming soon. So if you like those two amazing queens on season 1 and season 3, check them out.
The preview was really good too.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much, but just always more Survivor Michigan content. We're constantly just like stealing players and then being like, look, we found this person. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being